Hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream. Let me know that you're here and alive by way of a comment. Where you coming from? What you smelling like? All that stuff. For some reason, I have a feeling that my comments. Oh, there we are. I was like, there are no comments. Where is it? Okay. Lady Bright Phrase. Yes, I'm back. I keep doing this thing where I get in front of a camera. It's weird. JSO, what's up? DP, welcome. Thomas Rogers, good day to you. DP's in New York. All right, was just in New York a couple weeks ago. Hey, Gerard. Gerard, by the way, I did get your email. I don't remember if I responded to you, but thank you for that email. Really, really thoughtful. Definitely going to look into that because I've been meaning to visit that shop for some time. I haven't been since before COVID, so got to go check that out. Okay, Kevin from Lakeland. Got Drentar wearing Dunhill Century. Hey, Cam, good to see you. Hakraf. Bless Baraka 5 sprays. All right, got the spray count. Yes, indeed. Thomas is wearing Colonia Intensa. That's some good stuff. Classy stuff. Yes, indeed. By two master perfumers, Alberto Maurice and Francois Demachy. I did a silly visual of that in a recent video. Some of you may have seen it. Actually took me a long time to edit that little 6-second part. So you're welcome. Okay, let's see here. Adeline near Guam. Well, thanks for tuning in bed. Or you're going to bed soon, but thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate that. Saipan, yeah. Okay. We're in Centerpiece. All right. Triumph of Bacchus. Yes, indeed. All right. I don't know Nawab. I've heard of them, but haven't smelled anything. Hey, Sandy. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, that stuff is good. I think it serves a beautiful purpose. It's not the strongest fragrance, but it has a wonderful presence. And as a result, again, very, very distinct function. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember, I was actually doing my research on all these perfumers over the past couple days. And it was, who was it that I was actually surprised to learn? Put myself on the spot here. I got my little list. It's not a little list at all. It's a very long list of perfumers. And oh yeah, Michel Almarac. Michel Almarac, legendary perfumer, did Dior Fahrenheit. He's the one who did Brioni Eclat. And he also, I think, collaborated on Brioni EDP Intense. So that's really cool. Pretty crazy. The chef, welcome. Welcome back. Colonia Pura, Essenza, and Sandalo. Colonia Pura, from my memory, is very nice. It's a little, it's modern. It's kind of a borderline basic take, but it's very good quality. It's very pleasant. Just does not impress me as much as some of the others, but I totally recommend you try it if you're interested. Essenza is one I used to have. I used to be obsessed with Essenza. This was years ago. This was 5 years ago when I had a bottle of that. And I once heard someone say it smells like bug spray, and that ruined it for me. I could not wear it, and I had to sell it. But I want to get it back. I have not tried Sandalo. That sounds great. I tried to avoid this, but I have to admit, the day is Aventus. It is overpriced, but the grapevine says current batches seem all right again. F batches. No shame. Guys, no matter what I say in my videos, my number one mantra is wear what you love first. If you love it, wear it. If you get compliments or not, doesn't matter. If you love it, wear it. I don't care what it is. It could be Paris Hilton, whatever it is. Just doing it conspicuously is where it becomes a slippery slope. Aventus is a great scent. No matter all the crap and hate, at the end of the day, it's a great fragrance. It's a shame the trajectory it's taken, mainly just with the brand, but we can't take that away from them. It's a great fragrance. Jared Miller, always good to see you. Hope you're doing well. All right. Yeah, a lot of you guys are here. Dominique is here. Mudar's here. Abdul, David Wiggum. Thanks for being here for the first time. Jason Dry. Abdul. Crad 710. Eau Sauvage Parfum. Good stuff. I'm just trying to catch up on all these comments. Enrique, is Papi Felico similar to Boundless? No. If you're asking me, no, not at all. Papi Lefico is closer to something like Desir Toxic for me, which is from Micallef. Some people say it's very close to some Penhaligon's fragrance that I have not smelled. I don't remember if it's Lord George, one of those like portrait collection fragrances with the animal heads. But that's the closest thing I could tie to is Desir Toxic, which is what I have. Okay. For those of you who are new to the live stream, as we typically do, I'll take the first 10 minutes just to kind of talk to you guys, converse, answer your questions, and then we'll get down to business. And we got quite a bit of business to get into today. Mr. Sam, similar to Halfeti, which is similar to... Yes, it goes on and on and on. Post Soleil, beautiful scent. And another admit blind buy. Gerard, thank you for just being honest today. You know, I think it's the end of the day for you. So you're ending the day with integrity. There's no better way to end the day. And Post Soleil is a beautiful scent. Grace has actually been getting a lot of wear out of it this week. And I find it to be really, really nice and surprisingly long lasting. For those of you that want that. Smells like salty skin. Let's see here. D&G Gray. I don't think I've smelled that outside of the store one time. It was one time that I smelled it when it came out. Haven't smelled it since. Do you love it, Sean? I'm curious. I'm glad you got some compliments. Is that one of your favorites? Have you tried the other Adamo scents? I have tried all three of them currently. Yes, I have 2 of the 3, and they're all stunning. They're beautiful fragrances. They're opulent. They are complex. They're awesome. Yeah, and we'll be possibly talking about one of them today. About 15 more seconds and we'll get started. How's the new Dior Homme Sport? I like it. I do think it's a little redundant if you have Dior Homme 2020. You don't need both of them. But either one is good. Whatever one you like more, the Sport is maybe just a little fresher. Okay. We're at the 10-minute mark, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get started here. So it's funny, I don't even remember exactly what I titled this stream. I'm looking on StreamYard and they don't show me. I'm going to go to my channel. My favorite perfumers and the best fragrances I have from them. That's what I called it. So that's what we're doing. This is a topic I've wanted to do for some time, but to be honest, I've chickened out because I was afraid that I would put a lot of work into it and no one would show up. So I'm thrilled that you guys are here for this because I do think this is really important. As I put down in the description of this video, it's kind of strange that we don't talk more about perfumers on a wide scale in this community on YouTube. They're literally the reason why we have the fragrances that we like. And it's weird to just like talk about them. I mean, it's very common to just speak about them from the brand. It's like, oh, Gucci made this, Davidoff made that. Each one of those fragrances is coming from the creative and skilled and trained mind of a person. And, the ability to capture people through scent, but in a way where you are creating scent. That is incredible. So this is me from my little pedestal. Not pedestal, soapbox. I'm not on a pedestal. Soapbox. Just trying to do my part and trying to bring more attention and just like, hey, like I know, that the newest person to fragrance is not really concerned with who's making their fragrances. They're looking to find out what can my fragrance do for me? Will it get me compliments? Will it make people like me? I get that. But after some time, it's my hope that we breach the surface, which is that, and get to like what makes things tick. Why do I like this fragrance? And speaking of, why, who made it? And how did they do that? You know what I mean? We start asking questions. We dig. Because there's always roots. And I feel like this community at the popular level does not really dig. It's just all about, oh, is it sexy? Great, it is. Buy it. All right, awesome. It got me 6 compliments today. That means it's an amazing scent. That's fun. But we all know there's so much more than that. Fragrances aren't just popping out of thin air. They're being made by experts. So I got a few criteria to get into. First of all, this took me a long time to put together. I went through the entire Fragrantica index of perfumers and just kind of, I didn't get too deep into it, but I just kind of let myself look and watch names come up that I recognized. And I've seen a lot of names and studied a lot of perfumers over the past few years that I've been doing this. So there's a lot of names that I'm familiar with, and they would come up, I click on them and I go through their entire catalog and see, do I have fragrances that I love from this person? Not just ones I have that are fine and that are okay, or I have them on the shelf, but I don't talk about them. I want to talk about ones that I love and ones that I have talked about at least a little frequently on this channel. So I'm looking for 2 fragrances, at least 2, from a particular perfumer in this regard to make it into this video. They're all in this massive, heavy box. This is ridiculous, but we're doing it. So they're all in here. I stuck to 10 perfumers. I have many on this list. I made this list on my iPad. And I was just like writing down, and you see all the little fire emojis where I put, those are my favorites from them. But I couldn't include everyone. So consider this a part 1. I listed all of them that I recognize and have several perfumes from in alphabetical order by first name. And I just kind of, in order, selecting the ones that would be in this video, I just kind of went down and just selected them kind of first come first serve in order, but skipped a 1 or 2. So there's many more I could include. Keep that in mind. We're only going to stop at like the J's or something like that. Also, just to get a few other things out of the way. Just because I don't have more than 2 loves from a particular perfumer doesn't mean that I don't like their work. It just means that I have more of their work to try. All right. So I might have more than 2, maybe 3 or 4 from one perfumer, but maybe none of them are my absolute favorites. So just to be honest with you guys, I'm not going to put them on the list because I still have more to discover from that perfumer, and find ones that I truly love. Now, that being said, there will be some big names that will not be, at least in this episode, depending on how this episode does. Maybe it will just be a video, maybe it won't be an episode, but it depends on how you guys like it. And that's because my collection does not meet the criteria. So perfumers like Alberto Maurice, perfumers like Carlos Benaim, like Natalie Lorson, like Dominique Ropion, Francis Kirkjohn, and many others will not be here because I don't have more than 2 fragrances from them, 2 or more from them that I absolutely love. Now, I might have 1, but I wanted to be very strict. For instance, I have Gucci Guilty Absolute from Alberto. Love that stuff. And I have 2 other fragrances from him, only 2, believe it or not, and that is Acqua di Gio Profumo, and I have a couple of other Gucci's, actually, not just 2. No, but I also have Bulgari Man Rain Essence. I wouldn't call that an absolute love, though. So Alberto's not here. There's a lot of staples that he has in his portfolio that I don't have, and in some ways, presenting him without all of that is kind of disservice. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. And the last thing is that I'm trying to avoid collaborations. As we know, there's many fragrances, especially designer fragrances, where multiple perfumers will collaborate. I'm avoiding that because that's a little messy. So I just, simplify it in that way. So with all that out the way, we're going to dive into this. I have almost every fragrance in the description right now, but I didn't have time to finish. There's at least maybe 5 or so that are not there. So I'll get those in when we finish. If you want to check them out, there's links to everything along with all the perfumers' names. But I may have left out a few names because I was rushing trying to put it all in here before we went live. We're going to start. In fact, I'm going to make banners for the perfumer names. I should have done that already, but I was running behind. It's been a crazy week, and I did not really have time to prepare a whole lot for this live stream. So our first perfumer is Antoine Maisondieu. Terrible pronunciation, but I'm doing my best. So there's a few fragrances that Antoine has done that I truly love, but they are collaborations with Daniela Andrier, who is the in-house perfumer at Prada. Boss, thank you. Appreciate that. Into the AM, guys. I think the code STAYFRESH10 gives you a discount from Into the AM. I linked them in like all my videos, but they're not linked in this video. Anyway, so he's done the Bottega Veneta Homme line, Bottega Veneta Extreme, the Parfum. He did all of those with Daniela, but I'm not including them because, again, collaborations, but those are wonderful. He also did a lot of the code flankers, Profumo. Is it Profumo? Yeah, it's Profumo. He did the new Elixir. He did the Eau de Parfum. He did Colonia. All of those are him as well. And he also collaborated on Explorer, Mont Blanc Explorer, with Olivier Pichot and Jordi Fernandez. But I'm only going to feature 2 fragrances from him that I have that I really like, both from Tom Ford. One of them is discontinued. One of them is not. First one is Beau de Jour. So Antoine Maisondieu is the one who created Beau de Jour. This is a stunning, strong barbershop fragrance that harkens back to an older style, so it will smell a little mature. By the way, just to keep it simple, I'm not going to be dissecting all these fragrances because we will be here all day, and I'm not trying to sit here for several hours. We'll see. And the next one, Discontinued, Shanghai Lily. I don't know, you probably won't be able to tell. Cover up my face. I'm trying to get some light. You see that the color of the juice there? It's beautiful. You wouldn't really know. But yeah, this one is it's hard to get. This is like a spicy, posh, slightly powdery, like white floral fragrance, but very spicy and woody. Really, really elegant stuff. Some might find it a little feminine. I think it's gorgeous. Shame that it's discontinued. But those are two Tom Fords from Antoine Maisondieu. I'm going to be making these banners as we go. The next perfumer. This is high pressure stuff, guys. For you. Next perfumer, Bertrand Duchafour. Yeah, I'm just making sure I'm not missing any. Nick is actually wearing Beau de Jour. That's cool. Okay, Bertrand. Bertrand is responsible for most of the fragrances from L'Artisan Parfumeur, especially all the ones prior to, I'd say, the last 5-ish years. I don't think he's creating for them all that much today, but he did a lot for them before. He's done a few for Amouage. He did Diamant, and he also did one which we'll discuss here in a second. And he also did a fragrance that he did an entire collection that I have wanted to try for years, but they've been off the market. The Vagabond Prince. And the fragrance that I wanted to try the most from them is called Enchanted Forest. I remember hearing about that years ago, and it's been off the market for years. It's been discontinued, so may never get around to that. I saw a question just come in. Enrique's asking, how would you compare Fougère d'Argent to B612? B612, which we will be talking about a little later. B612, I wouldn't say is spicy. B612 is a smooth, creamier, cozier, woody type of scent. And it has cypress in it, which is a very distinctive woody quality. Whereas Beau de Jour is heavier on the lavender and the oak moss. It's drier. It's a more drier scent. It starts creamy, but it gets dry on the skin. Not quite as woody. I would say it's more mossy and even a little ambery. So they are distinctive characters. I would say B612, to put it simply, smells a little bit more modern, a little bit more contemporary. Beau de Jour smells like Davidoff Zeno, which came out in 1986. And it kind of smells like the 80s, but it's beautiful. Hope that answers your question. Okay. Bertrand Duchafour. I'm going to talk about 3 fragrances that I have from him. First one up is this one, Jubilation 25. One of the most complex fragrances ever, honestly, and definitely one of the most complex from Amouage. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's like an incense, like a honey incense with blackberry and oud. It's kind of medicinal. It's rich and regal, not super strong these days. It used to be stronger back in the day. And a lot of people are upset by that. But I think it's perfect now because the earlier renditions of it were too strong for me. They were so rich that I would have to like turn my nose. But now it's perfect. It wears super elegantly. But sample first, guys, sample first. You avoid disappointment by sampling first. Okay. Next up, from Penhaligons. He's done a few from Penhaligons. And the one that I have that he's done is one of the classics, Sartorial. A very unique take on the barbershop. Funny, we're just talking about that. Oh man, this is this is honey. He's using his honey. He likes his honey. Like a beeswax honey feel, sweetness to the typical barbershop style, spicy, fresh, aromatic, clean, creamy, shaving foam kind of vibe, but interesting metallic feel in here that it's almost like supposed to represent like a tailor's shop or something like that. Classy. So classy, not super strong on me. I get a good maybe 7 hours, which is fine. Sits fairly close. I mean, it's refined gentleman stuff. Gentlemen don't scream. So I think it's perfect. It is a perfect fougere and it's very unique for the genre. And the last one I have is from Largest on Parfumeur. I believe this fragrance is technically, is it discontinued? It might not be, but at the very least, it has been reformulated. So I hear, and it's at least in a new bottle. Timbuktu. I have a couple from this house. The other one I have, excuse me, the other one I have was not, it may have been perfumed by him. Bucolique du Provence, which is not a love. I like it, but I don't love it. Very simple, kind of clean lavender iris leather. It's like a stripped down Prada L'Homme Intense, less sweet, more natural, but a little boring, honestly. Anyway, Timbuktu, very unique, almost borderline sheep kind of fragrance. It is this dry, woody vetiver with smoky incense, a little bit of spice, and mango, but it's like an unripe mango. So it's not sweet, but it is still fruity. Very unique. I think there's like papyrus or something, a very unique kind of papery, woody quality to it, but it's just exotic is the best way I can put it. I hate that word as a descriptor. It's very vague, but that's all I got right now. I actually haven't eaten anything today, guys, so I'm running on empty, but I'm having a great time. But my brain is still activating. Okay, so that's Bertrand, at least in the span of my collection. We're going to put in our next perfumer. I'm going to do my best to use all the proper spelling, the accents and such. Cecile Zarokian, she's on the thumbnail. She's the woman on the right. And she is masterful when it comes to using warmer ingredients like ambery accords, like vanilla. And most of the fragrances that I love from her are fragrances like that. She has a couple of fresher ones that I have tried and I enjoy, one of which is Green Water from Jacques Fat. Don't love it, but I like it. It's a great kind of mint neroli fragrance, very refreshing, very light. But the first one up here, we're going to talk about, we're not going to talk about Royal Tobacco from Amouage. I do like Royal Tobacco. It's just a little too much for me. I need to come back around to it in the fall, maybe the winter. The times that I wore it, it's kind of overwhelming. Lovely scent, but just like takes over the senses. So the one I will talk about here from Amouage is Material. And this is more of an ambery type of vanilla. It's not like an edible vanilla. There is a smoky woodiness. There is, I think there's some LME resin in here. There is tonka bean, but it's a very natural tonka bean. Natural tonka bean, I've smelled the oil and it kind of smells almost pruny in a way. It's like a prune and vanilla together. It's hard to describe. Um, it's so interesting, and it smells very natural here with that real Madagascar vanilla, which is some of the most expensive vanilla you can find. It's just rich. It's a little dusty and airy. Definitely sweet, but not delectable. Very, very elegant. And don't be fooled by the bottle design. This is perfectly unisex. Okay, let's make sure. Epic Woman is awesome as well. I think I only have a decant of the new version, the Epic, fill in the blank with the number. I don't remember the number now, but that's also gorgeous. But I don't have the original Epic Woman, but I have smelled it. It's really great, and I agree it is totally unisex. And the second one from her is this is a basic one. We all know it, Ani, but stunning fragrance. Taking vanilla, blending it with juicy, slightly bittersweet black currant. The juiciness of that combo, it just sucks you in. It's so succulent. almost edible, more edible than Amouage, but there's so much more here. Very powerful stuff from Nishane as well. Another fragrance I have that I love from her, which is not here, is Cafe Cabanel from Teo Cabanel. That one has a very distinctive personality. It is like a milky cinnamon sweet chai latte. That's the best way I could put it. It smells wonderful. Some might find it a little feminine. That's okay. I think it's great. All right. We're going to move on from Cecile. That's 3. On to our 4th. All right. Next one is Chris Maurice. Now, Chris Maurice is known for his work with Xerjoff. My goodness, this guy has done seemingly every Xerjoff fragrance. If you look at the catalog, it's like all him. He also did all of like Kimmy Blending Magic, and he's done a few from Nishane as well. And he's also done a ton of Suspiro before Christian Provenzano, who we'll talk about next, swept in and took over the Suspiro contract. I don't know if that's how it works, but it was Chris. Chris was doing them all, and he did all the classics from Suspiro. And he's also done quite a bit from Boyce 1920. This guy gets around. We're going to talk about 3 fragrances from Chris Maurice, 2 of which are from Nishane. I'll present them together. We have Nefs and B612. So as I was talking about this one, this is a modern, more contemporary, futuristic type of fougere. As a result, it's almost a little stripped down. You have less of the spicy elements. You have less of an herbal aromatic quality, and definitely not really like a mossy base. It's more of this cozy, slightly synthetic, but in the best way, woody base. It uses cashmeran, which is this wool, warm, cozy woodiness in there with that cypress, with a clean lavender, and something does make it a little bit sweet and even a little creamy, but there's a sharpness, which I think is coming from that cypress. Very easy wear, but some surprisingly find it a little hard to wear. I've seen some comments saying, I don't know how to wear this. Where do I wear this? It's so different. To me, it's beautiful and perfectly versatile. But anyway, that's just me. Nefs. Oh man, this is such an opulent fragrance. Opulent is the key word here. This is rich, like honey dripping fig fruit, sweet and juicy with a boozy vanilla, with like whiskey and vanilla and some oud and rose in there. It is like pretty sweet, almost syrupy in a way. Definitely woody, but not funky. So don't be turned off by the oud. Just like mouth watering, but so elegant. This is like night out dressed up, perfectly unisex. Night out dressed up, a few sprays, because it's so strong. It will overwhelm. Lyra. Yeah, Lyra is also great that Chris did. And I saw someone else mention from Cecile, Tango by Masque Milan was also gorgeous. Oh, Jared is calling you guys out. If you guys are here watching and you're enjoying it, you might as well click the button. It costs you like half a calorie. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jared, as well. So, and thank you, Sandy, saying the same thing. Now, I have Alexandria too, from Xerjoff. You know what? I'm just, for some reason now, I just did not realize this. I know Chris Maurice has done a lot from Xerjoff, but I'm not certain if he did Renaissance. You know what? He may have, maybe not. This was 2011. I don't know if he did Renaissance. It doesn't say on Fragrantica. Sometimes, the perfumers are there on Fragrantica, and sometimes they're not. And there's holes for no reason at all. So that's kind of annoying. Anyway, I could sit here all day and try to figure this out. But the one I'm going to talk about, which is also not technically credited to him online, at least not that I could find, but I'm pretty sure he did this because he did like the rest of the collection from the Join the Club collection. I'm talking about 40 Knots. Now, he did the others. He did More Than Words. He did, I don't know, a couple of others. I can't remember the names of them now. But this one was not listed under him, which makes no sense. So I'm pretty sure he did this one too. I'm not certain. So if I'm wrong, forgive me, but I think he did. This is a love for me. It's a polarizing fragrance. It is this sweet, powdery amber with an interesting kind of fresh, woody, aquatic saltiness that's very subtle. It's more bottom heavy, more of the sweet, powdery amber, less of the fresh, sea spray, salty, marine, woody quality. But the combination of that is so unique. I know it is similar to Dior Ambre Nuit, but it has this other element that Ambre Nuit does not have, that kind of marine-like element. It is very interesting, and I love it. I love wearing it, and it's also very strong. It just happens to be strong. So if you need that, it's there. Alexandria 2 is another one that I have that he has done. I can't say that's a love. It's not one of my favorites, but I do like it a lot. It's like a solid, 7.5, 8 out of 10 for me. It's a great scent. It was a little bit less complex in my experience than I was hoping for, but it is really nice. Okay, so that is Chris Maurice. You don't need me to tell you how legendary this guy is. Okay, our next perfumer is, I actually mentioned it already, Mr. Provenzano. No, Mr. Provenzano, this man is busy. This man is everywhere. Everywhere. I don't know what it is that he's just getting a ton of work, and he's doing great work. Don't get me wrong. And you know what? I've actually been meaning to tell you guys how many fragrances I have from each perfumer total, but it's fine. I forgot. But I have at least 9 fragrances from Christian. And I can't say he's my favorite perfumer, to be honest. I mean, a lot of the stuff I have from him is from like Sospiro, which is, I do like Pasticcio. I'm still getting to know it. That one is interesting. It is a little bit Parfum de Marly, Pegasus-ish, kind of in that direction, but a little different. But I like it. And I definitely like it a whole lot more than Vibrato, which is just a downright rip. A rip off of Bulgari Tigar, which I think was Jacques Cavalier who did that one. And so it's just like, I can't really get behind it. And it's a fine fragrance. It's really pleasant, citrusy, musky, woody, as it's like this juicy grapefruit but it's just like, it doesn't smell like a $300+ fragrance to me at all, but it is very nice. Anyway, I don't want to just harp on the stuff I don't love, but one that I do love, this was Love at First Sniff. I'm shaking the camera. I'm so excited. Love at First Sniff from Penhaligons. Halfeti Cedar. Now, Christian, if I'm not mistaken, actually did all of the Halfetis. He's responsible for the original Halfeti from Penhaligons. He also did a lot of fragrances from Boadicea the Victorious, a lot of them. He's responsible for a lot of those, of which I've smelled basically none. I have no real experience with the house. They have so many fragrances and they're all so expensive, but I hear that many of them are so good. Anyway, Halfeti Cedar, I've talked about this a lot. This is this dark, rich, juicy, peachy, fruity, but also like a dried, fruity, woody scent with like drizzled in rum or something. There's a booziness in here. It is very thick and dense. It's a lot when you smell it up close. So I'm warning you guys, don't let your final judgment be like that or on a blotter. It's a lot. It's very like stuffy up close. The woodiness is pretty intense, but it is a stunningly elegant scent profile, one I love to wear for the fall in more elegant scenarios. Let's see here. Joseph, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Anyway, that's Halfeti Cedar, and we're going to talk about one more from Chris, and that is one we were just speaking about earlier from the brand new Adamo Parfum. This is numero 2. That's what it's called. This is lovely. Oh man. It's like this, I think there's like a blood orange in here. It's like a juicy blood orange. Now, blood orange is interesting because it is a citrus, but it is not fresh. There's almost this like dark ambery quality to blood orange. It's not a bright citrus element like a lemon or a lime or a bergamot. And that adds, it just blends very well with the character of this scent, which is more of an ambery, woody, spicy fragrance. Definitely more for the cooler weather, elegant evening out. It smells like it could have amberwood in it, and amberwood is an aroma chemical created in a lab, and it's a great one. It's very popular. It smells amazing. It's this warm, ambery, woody quality. It's like an accord essentially, and it smells like it could be in here, but I'm not certain. But it's lovely stuff, and it dries beautifully on the skin. Has a little bit of smokiness in there, perhaps. In the description of this video, there is a link to Adamo with the code. You can use my name, Justin, and it allows you to essentially get their discovery set for free. You just pay for the cost of shipping. And I know a lot of you have already taken advantage of that. And I saw some of your comments saying how much you enjoy them. So I'm happy that they're living up to my words. Okay, so that's it for Christian. Again, I have like 7 others I could talk about from him, but none of them are absolute loves. Pasticcio could move in that direction. Actually, no, I do love Adamo numero 1. That one is really nice, but I wanted to just feature number 2 because I hadn't really featured it yet. Okay, move on. Is that 5? That's 5. We're halfway through, guys. Next one up is the in-house perfumer. Oops. Spelled her name wrong. In-house perfumer at Hermes. That is Christine Nagel, if that's how you say her name. I don't think it's Nagel, but I think it is Nagel or something of that sort. In-house perfumer at Hermes, the successor to the formidable, the indefatigable, the legendary Jean-Claude Elena, whom we will talk about shortly. And there's been talk around the fragrance community here online that she doesn't live up to his name and his legacy and all that. I think she's doing fine work. She's taking the brand into a very, maybe not cutting edge, but very contemporary direction. They are leading their own path. They're not performing peripherally. They're not like, oh, what are you doing? Okay, we'll do something like that. What are you guys doing? They have their lane, they're sticking to it, and they're creating definitive fragrances. So I can appreciate what she's doing. I have 3 fragrances that I will talk about. I have 4 that she's done. One of them is L'Ombre de Merveille, which is a strange-ish fragrance. It's very wearable, but it's kind of different. And I don't know if I love it yet, but I do want to give it some more wearings this summer. It's a very unique kind of sweet tonka bean incensey tea fragrance. Very interesting, but I do like it. But we're going to talk about 3. The first 2 we'll get out of the way because they're connected. And that's the H24 collection as it stands on this day, starting with the Eau de Toilette from 2021. And then last year, 2022, we got the Eau de Parfum. Now, as I've said several times, when this first came out, when it was announced, I was so excited. And why was I so excited? Because this was going to be the first men's marketed new fragrance DNA since Terre d'Hermes. Since 2005, Hermes had not given us a specifically male marketed mainstream designer DNA. I'm not getting all my words right, but you know what I mean. Saul's like, there's a lot resting on this. This is a new DNA. What are we going to do with it? I sprayed it on. I blind bought it from Hermes. I paid full price. I paid retail. And I sprayed it on. I'm like, okay, this doesn't really live up to Terre Hermes. It had this simplicity that I was not really expecting. It was green, it was metallic and fresh, and that's all I really got. So I was disappointed. And I gave it more wearings and more wearings, and it took me maybe almost a year of wearing this to really come around to it and realize, you know what? This is different. There is nothing quite like this on the mainstream market, and nothing really has come like it since it came out, which is like, you know what? They've established something different here, which I can really get behind that. And that changed my perspective on the scent. It does have this very interesting narcissus quality to it that is this damp green earthiness. So I can really appreciate this stuff. It's easy to wear, but it's different. And it's actually gotten me a lot of positive attention. So even though it's different, people still can enjoy it when they smell it. It smells like a pleasant scent, but it is not your average male marketed mainstream fragrance. And then, of course, the EDP came out. I do believe this is an upgrade. This is a perfect eau de parfum flanker. It's richer, denser, more bottom heavy, a little bit less fresh, not necessarily stronger, but it does seem to have more presence. I feel like the sillage is a little bit richer and, you know, maybe a little bit more long lasting, but not all that much. Now, the EDT did okay for me. For some people, it seemed to be weak, but for me, it's fine. So those two are wonderful. I love the DNA. I'm curious if they'll continue with it. I don't know where else they would take this in terms of a flanker, another flanker. You know, a concentration flanker is one thing, but I hope they're not going to just keep doing concentration flankers. I would get a little bit disappointed if they did that. Like, oh, H24 Parfum. It's like, come on. I feel like the EDP is already a Parfum, so I'd like to see them add some twist to it. And then, of course, we had her flanker to the classic Elena DNA, Terre Hermes Eau Givray. I feel like this may have been her. No, this is not her first flanker. I think did she do Eau Intense Vetiver? She may have. What's her name? I'm just gonna look this up right now. There she is. And I know some of you guys are probably already putting it in the comments, but I'm not looking yet. I just wanted to see. Yeah, she did Eau Intense Vetiver. All right, just wanted to make sure. So this is her second flanker to the line. Now, I have not smelled Eau Intense Vetiver. Shame on me. But Eau Givray is one of my favorite mainstream summer releases in the past 5 years. Easy. Super refreshing, cooling. The way I described it in a recent video where I just simplified these descriptions was freshly sliced grapefruit on ice. There's more to it than that, but it is so refreshing and cold smelling. It's incredible. Okay, let's keep it moving. That's it for Christine. The next one up is, I saw someone mention his name earlier, Mr. Claude Dur. Claude. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Claude, you'll know him from his work with Xerjoff. He does all of Xerjoff's fragrances, and he does splendid work. I don't ever use that word, but it seems appropriate. Such a unique fragrance personality in the space, and it's created this beautiful, new realm of fragrance through the DNA of the signature Pour Homme and all of its iterations and twists. But the first one we'll start with him. He actually did some work with Amouage, and this was my first love from this house, and that's Oud de Jour. And now I didn't know at the time that I loved it that he was the perfumer. I only came to find out later. But before I smelled Lunar Vetiver, which became my next love, it was Oud de Jour. This is this dark plum oud. It's like juicy, spicy, a little sweet, a little bit subtle too. It's not as strong as you might expect, but it is gorgeously elegant, great for a night out. Great for date night, I would say, because it's not overwhelming. It's easy to get next to. So he did some great work with that. And then, of course, all the Zaharoff stuff. I'm not going to describe any of them, but, Signature Rosé, which is one of the best rose fragrances ever made. Leather Tabak. I haven't worn this in a while. Gosh. Wow. What a powerhouse. And then we have TLTG. He did both of Ross's fragrances. He did Business Over Pleasure, and he also did Evening Mystique. If you guys have not yet checked this out, you guys are missing out. Claude's touch on this fragrance is masterful. Look into it if you're not familiar. Go to the Zaharoff website, which is linked down below, and look into and read about Evening Mystique. It is stunning, and it's going to be great for the fall when it comes back around. We have a Signature Royale Triple X. The regular Royale X is great too, man. And then we have the brand new Coco Loco. Beautiful citrus coconut fragrance. I get very great performance out of it. It actually surprised me. Creamy, sweet, tropical, beachy. Lovely, lovely stuff. For those of you that were wondering. Okay. Next up is going to be, this is a big name, guys. Big house. Francois Demachy. Francois. Yeah, so he was the in-house perfumer at Dior for some time and was responsible for some bangers, some major, well, I'd say major hits in the fragrance community, maybe not major hits in the industry. Or in the industry too, but in the market, maybe not so much, because too cutting edge. There's a reason why a lot of his amazing creations that we find to be timeless masterpieces and trailblazers have been pushed to the back burner by Dior because they didn't appeal to everyone. And that's just what happens when you create something incredible and distinctive and unique. It will create a dividing line. And Jared, thank you so much for the super chat. Sniff is a great little database. I like what they're doing there. Okay, first one up from Francois. We got a handful to talk about from him. The original Dior Homme. Now, this is his reformulation of it, which he did in 2011. Olivier Polge was responsible for the first iteration of it. Gosh, I've talked about it a lot. I could talk for the next several minutes about it, but I think I'm going to save you some time, mainly because you can't really get it easily unless you're in Europe, where you can get the original version of it, which is the new iteration. Hard to get, so I'm not going to tease you guys talking about it. But if you can find yourself a decant somewhere out there, please do. You just have to smell it. Even if you don't love it, you have to. Not long after that, I see you guys already putting it in the chat. DHP. Now, I am blessed to have one of the OG bottles. Man, one of the old 75s. Man. This is a fragrance that is pretty special for me. I don't wear it a whole lot, but I will never let this go. I might wear this twice a year, to be honest with you guys, but I can't tell you how many times I just pick it up and smell it and just like get lost in the bliss. Just took that DNA and just made it perfectly a parfum. Incredible. And then we have one of his more contemporary releases. One of the last ones he did before he left. I think the sport version was the last one he did. Right before that, he did the Homme 2020, which, as you guys probably already know, has become a surprising love for me. I don't know what it is. It has a magic to it. It has this X factor that I cannot explain. I love it. Oh, you said that you have 2 bottles coming. You found the original ones? The original 75 mils? I am curious. Give people the plug. I know there's people inquiring here who would like to get their hands on some bottles. Unless you're in Europe or something, then maybe you can't help everyone. We have, of course, Fahrenheit Parfum. Once again, a perfect Parfum flanker to the 1988 class. Oh my gosh, this is so good. 1988 classic by Michel Amarac, and maybe someone else. I can't remember if he collaborated on that. He may have, but nonetheless, Francois did his thing with this. He took the DNA, which was already timeless, so he didn't have to like make it more modern or anything. Added a rich, boozy vanilla in there, some like licorice or anise, that kind of licoricey feel. May not be for everyone, but it's stunning. And you may not be able to tell. I only learned this because I had a decant of this fragrance years ago that, believe it or not, I hated. I did not like it when I first tried it. But the juice is green. I don't know if you can tell. So when I hold it upside down, I don't want them to see my face. Hold it upside down. You can see the bottle is kind of clear at the bottom, but as I tilt it, you see the green hue come in. The juice is green. It doesn't matter. Why am I spending so much time on that? But it's awesome. And then the final fragrance I'll feature for him that I do actually really love. The only fragrance I love from this collection, which is Sauvage Elixir. I love what he did with this. He made the Sauvage DNA more adult, more mature, a little bit less boyish and shower gel, suave for men. Doesn't smell like suave for men, but it has this rich, almost barbershop feel. It's very spicy and woody and classic stuff. Amazing. Okay. We'll keep it moving. I think we're going to do 2 more perfumers. 2 more. Next up is, he must be mentioned. And again, even if I didn't put him here, if I did this again, he would be in it. But so we might do this again. If you guys want to see this again, we'll do it again. Jean-Claude Elena. As you probably already know, he was the former in-house perfumer at Hermès and set the world on fire with so many of his creations. One of which is the timeless, the world-changing kind of Terre d'Hermès, which once again, like many amazing fragrances that exist, I didn't like when I first smelled it. I was actually disgusted by it. But I've come back around. I'm glad I did. Earthy, spicy, orange, woodiness, classiness, classy gentleman. This could be signature scent stuff if you want to have that vibe. There is something kind of alluring about it. I think it's that ISOE Super that strangely draws people in. He gave us a Parfum version, which is arguably even better. Now, I think they both have great functions. This is not my go-to fragrance for a hot day. I like to save this for a milder day or the evening. But the EDT, a little bit more versatile. The Eau Très Fresh version, even more versatile, but I don't have that. But this is such refinement of the DNA. For those who didn't like the Eau de Toilette, you might like the Eau de Parfum. It's rounder, it's smoother, and deeper. That's what you expect from a Parfum version. And then, I think 1998, he gave us this classic from Cartier, which has also had quite an effect on the industry, but kind of in an underground way. You don't see a lot of talk about the Declaration line. He gave us the original Declaration. It's such an iconic DNA. If you have yet to get your hands on this, it's still out there for a reason. Get your nose on this. Sniff it. Sniff it. It is not old or vintage smelling. It's not for everyone, don't get me wrong, but it is an incredible fragrance. Okay, final perfumer. I had a few more from Jean-Claude that I could have mentioned, one of them being Un Jardin sur le Nil. That is a classic. That one has really, I mean, it's such a unique offering in the market. Nothing was quite like that. It's not an absolute love from me. So again, just being honest with you guys, but I do really appreciate and respect it. And it is very pleasant. It's just not something I'm always in the mood to wear. Final perfumer we'll talk about for today. And again, if you guys want to see this again, let me know. Did I spell his name right? Looks like I did. I don't know how I'm doing this. I'm so hungry. My brain is still working. I'm running purely on excitement and passion here. Seriously, guys. Julien Rasquinet. Julien is known. He's done several fragrances from Creed, a few of the women's offerings. He's done Vetiver Geranium, and he's done one more, which we will talk about here shortly. He's done a couple fragrances from Nishane, a couple of their most recent ones. He did Hachivat X, and he also did Wulong Cha X. Those are both from Julien. So the fragrances we'll talk about from him, I have 4 that I will highlight. 4 of his fragrances that I love. I also have Vetiver Geranium, which is fantastic, but not really love because I haven't worn it very much lately. So I can't, in good faith, put that in here. First one we'll talk about is Tabac Rose from BDK. This is a Julien Rasquinet creation. This is a very unique take on rose. It's not often that you would see rose and tobacco paired together, but it works beautifully here. Adds this dusty, earthy quality to the rose, but mostly what I'm getting is fruit-infused chocolate, juicy, kind of creamy, dark chocolate with that opulent, slightly jammy rose and that dusty tobacco base. Very unique stuff. Very great performer, very romantic smelling, but with a little bit of edge. There's some interest here. It's not just a nice cuddle. You know, there's some substance there. Deep thinker, a deep thinker romantic would wear that. Forget it, it's dumb. Next up from Creed, Royal Oud. Julien Rasquinet is responsible for this. And I don't think that information was public until kind of recently, within the past year or two. And there's some shady stuff there. There's several Creed creations that were credited to, I'm not going to get into it right now. That's a topic for another time. But Royal Oud, as many of you guys have already seen in my videos, is probably my favorite from the house. But I don't wear it in the summer, so I'm not really thinking about it when it's hot. But it's easily one of my top 3. And there's nothing like this, guys. Another fragrance I didn't like when I had it first. I had a 10 milliliter decant that I bought off of Dan, Mr. Smelly's review from years back. And it smelled like I was shoving my nose into a Christmas tree surrounded by some desserts. It just didn't seem like a wearable scent. But I actually spent several years with that decant. The more I would spray it, the more I would love it, to the point where it's like, I need a bottle of this stuff because this is a masterpiece. Dry, spicy, slightly dusty woods with a little bit of sweetness. Very dusty and dry, very spicy. You have to love that. Might be a little bit old to some people. Next one up is from Amouage from 2020. This was Love at First Sniff. This, I believe, is for me, this is a 10 out of 10. One of the few 10 out of 10s from Amouage that I have, and that's Enclave. One of the most unique takes on mint. It is spicy, fresh, cooling mint with this slightly sweet, leathery, resinous dry down, even a little ashy in some ways. Some people say, I've heard someone say that it smells like you squeezed toothpaste into an ashtray. It is no, it's not. And on some level, I could say, you know what? That's kind of a crude but helpful description, but it's not like that. It is way more complex than that, way more pleasant than that, because I'm sure you can imagine that that doesn't sound very good, but it's lovely, lovely stuff. But I can understand why it's a little polarizing. And the final fragrance we're going to talk about in this video, I don't know how many fragrances we talked about today. This box is full, and I talked about all of them. This is Russian tea. So Julian is responsible for one of the most transportive fragrances that I have smelled. This literally smells like a cup of black tea on a cold day in front of a window. You're inside, it's like raining or it could be snowing. You're at a table, it's cozy, warm black tea, little bit of spice, some smokiness that's kind of cooling because there's mint in it and a little bit of like a honeyed raspberry feel. It actually has a beautiful leather dry down that, you know, I don't know how that factors in, but it smells so authentic. So authentic. I see Sir Siage is also a fan. Yeah, very artistic. Yeah, there's nothing like it. If you guys are looking for something to kind of just slightly blow your mind, just a little bit, it's not going to until maybe it will, but just at least a little bit. You're looking to expand your horizons. You've been wondering, like, man, there's got to be more interesting stuff out there. I have all these fragrances. There's got to be something that is like a wow or like it makes me scratch my head, but in a good way, not in a like, ugh. This is one. Russian tea. That's one I could give you. And there's many more that I could, some of which I've talked about today and some of which I talk about all the time in my videos. So once again, guys, there's going to be links to just about everything down below. I have to go back when we're done here and complete the description, include the rest of the fragrances and the perfumers that I missed. I think there's just 2 that I missed. But I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on this very experimental live stream. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but you guys showed up, and I appreciate your viewership, your commenting, and I'm so glad you enjoy it. Jose, I do not have the moon. So if there's a fragrance I don't have, I'm not featuring it. It's very much that simple. Not to say it's not a great fragrance, but I just don't happen to have hundreds of dollars sitting around to buy that. But I would like to smell it sometime. So yeah, maybe we'll do this again. I had a great time doing this. This is the kind of stuff I like. This has more substance than just these fragrances will get you compliments on a beach day during the summer in Bermuda. Great. Okay, and then that video is relevant until the next video comes out, and then it's obsolete. I'm not trying to vent to you guys. I'm just hungry, so the thoughts come out. Last thing I'll say is there's a big FragBuy, fragrancebuy.ca sale happening. I did a video yesterday. You can check that out if you want to take advantage of the sale that ends tomorrow night. And tomorrow morning, I'll be dropping a really fun video. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is now. Whatever it is, it's really fun. It has some beautiful visuals. I filmed it in front of this window, but in the evening. And I just love how the visuals came out, and it has some great fragrances in it. So do look out for that. I think you'll enjoy it. And if you missed other videos I did this week, here's your reminder to go check them out. I did that video about describing fragrances with everyday language. I really enjoyed it. And believe it or not, that 5-ish minute video took me almost 5 hours to edit. You would not think so, and I didn't think it would either, but that thing was a bear because I had to get all this footage together, and it just took me forever. I'm not going to go into it, but I'm not going to implore you. I'm just going to recommend that you check out that video because it is a little different. If you're looking for a different approach that's not going to take up 10 plus minutes of your time, do check that out. I would appreciate the support, and I would love your feedback on it too. Anyway, hit the like button on your way out if you like what you saw here. It's totally free. All of this has been free the whole time, other than just about an hour and 9 minutes of your time, which I do appreciate. And I will see you guys in the next video. You're amazing. Thanks for being a part of the Freshest Squad here on YouTube. and we will talk soon. Take care.